Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the new Gems of War Mythic of the King Stormgard. So this Mythic ended up coming into the game at 3 different dates, as the campaign Mythics tend to be. The first one was last week's Monday if you bought the bigger pass, this week Monday if you bought the standard pass for the campaign, and in about a couple months whenever he next rotates either through a Wilds Plane event, not the current one that's going on, but the next one after this one, he'll be in the event key drop table, as well as when the Soul Forge rotation occurs, he will be possible as one of those mythics, which should be able to happen probably before the summer or around the summer. So in about like 3-4 months, you should be able to get him free to play, but more relevantly, you'll also be able to get multiple copies of him then. One issue with this mythic is he actually wants like 2 or 3 of him on a team to properly function. He's very similar to something like Takshaka and recently, or Eye of Argris, where you benefit heavily from having 2 or 3 on the team, and while you can run with 1, it isn't as strong if you end up running with 1, so we can't really see his full power in the current state of the game, as it is currently impossible to have more than 1 copy. So hopefully whenever they do troops like this in the future, it'll be more so like a monthly mythic rather than one in a season pass, because it basically is not fully usable until we can start getting multiple of them, unfortunately. But we'll still go over a bunch of teams and everything else with him during this video. As far as what he does, he's very comparable to Ketras the Bull, but with slightly less damage, but with more extra turn potential, and technically a lot more, as Ketras the Bull has 0 extra turn potential, one of the biggest things that holds it back in the current state of the game. Unlike Ketras the Bull, he does have a 3-to-1 instead of a 2-to-1, so he does get less of a bonus from all of his stats. Similar to pretty much all Taurus troops, he boosts based on all his stats, so based on his attack, life, and armor, and technically magic too, since it just goes straight into his ability. And he does a bunch of damage to the first 2 enemies, and this is boosted by all his stats as per usual at 3-to-1. And then the most important unique thing about him is he explodes all lightning gems. This normally wouldn't be too good, as there aren't too many ways to currently create lightning gems. Obviously that was the main gimmick of this current campaign, but he does end up creating 2 every single turn of his own. Unfortunately, it's always yellow. He never actually creates any blue ones. This is a little bit problematic given that he himself does not use yellow, which means something else on your team will have to be the thing that uses that yellow. But luckily, because they're lightning gems, you will still get all of the destroyed gem mana that you end up getting from them, and you get 100% whenever they destroy. So whenever you end up taking yellow lightning gem, the entire column associated with it gets destroyed. That doesn't matter if you end up destroying it through some other means, or if you end up matching the yellow gems, it'll end up destroying the whole column for a bunch of extra mana accumulation. If you do want to get him, of course, it is the last few days to do so during the campaign. But anyways, let's go and mess around with some. We'll just go into a couple explorers. All of these teams will be in the description below if you want to go and copy paste any of them. We'll be showing 4, though technically 3, because one of them is actually the same one we showed on Monday. So I might still do the battle with it, but we'll go through it pretty briefly, as we were mostly just using it for the event. Actually, I might as well even do a battle in the event to go show it. Might as well. Though we are a little bit deep, so it might take a little bit longer. Also, we just completely missed with Wand. No! That's definitely not what you end up wanting to see there. That is awful. We are using a primarily Wand-based mana accumulation team here. Normally, when you're using him in the future, you're going to be using 2 or 3 of him, and one of your main mana accumulations will simply just be his lightning gems, similar to how you could do it off of Takashaka with its wild cards. Not to the same degree. Obviously, Takashaka is substantially stronger than this. This is a very mid-tier mythic. It's very, very, very average. It is still usable, there just isn't too much of a use case that you'll really be able to go and end up utilizing it. So right here we can end up getting our lightning gems, then go destroy all of them with his ability, and as you can see, unlike Ketras the Bull, he is able to go straight for that double tap, which is pretty nice. We have a Ketras here mostly just for a little bit of damage, figured since we go into that build, might as well kind of thematically keep it the same. Anyways, go for the other little poke, get our mana, and go from there. But yeah, basically just Ketras the Bull with extra turn potential. We'll go take, actually, let's go take this one on the other one. So, of course, we have Pure Taurus. This is one of the things that he gets to be used in some situations. For example, Underspire this week. So if we go to our battle right over here, we can end up using a team like this. So like Primal Axe feeding into him, still having the Ketras, and having a Soothsayer. Very similar to the previous team we were just running, except this is actually usable whenever you're restricted to specific situations that are either pure Taurus, as this is a pure Taurus team, as well as pure Wild Plains, as this is also a pure Wild Plains team. And this will probably be the main thing that you end up using him for going forward. You're probably not going to be building him into like your main like Explorer team or anything like that. But one thing that he is going to be very viable for are restrictions like this, when you have almost no other options. He's by far the best thing that you have in the Wild Plains Kingdom, as well as currently the Taurus category. So he covers both of those very, very well whenever we do have this kind of restriction, as you just don't really have better options to curse day the game, especially when we run 2 or 3 of him and replace out the Ketras, replace out the Soothsayer, and essentially just have hero with weapon for 50% mana start into 3 of him is going to be the main strategy once we actually do have more options to end up utilizing there. Anyways, going back to the normal teams, let's go into our next one here. So this one ends up using his stat buff. Of course, similar to all Tauruses in the game, he gains a benefit from having higher stats. While it's not as high as some of the boost ratios that some of the other ones have, we can still boost it up with things like Vespera, which is still the best thing in the entire game to end up boosting off of. This team will also be a lot better once we have, what would you call it? The new polearm for the Doomed weapons. So recently, in Dooms, every single month, we've been getting a new polearm weapon. Currently, we've only gotten, purple and, why on earth do I forget the other color? Brown. We literally have it this week. But so far, we've only gotten purple and brown, but we will, of course, eventually have the polearm for every single color. And in that situation, blue polearm could actually work pretty well here. Of course, similar to the weapon, he hits the first 2 enemies. So it'd be 2 things that can focus down the first 2 enemies simultaneously. His ability, as well as the polearm, which also hits the first 2 enemies. And you also have, of course, a pure blue team. So you can end up using the blue polearm. For now, we're just using Doomed Blade in its place, which is still really good damage, really good weapon. Just not the exact theme of the other one, but that's mostly because it doesn't exist yet, but it will by the time this guy is probably in drop table, so worth considering. You could even replace out this for a second copy of him, which of course is another thing we can't currently do right now, but is something that will be accessible in the future. So like pretty much every Vespera team, your goal is to click your one singular color and hope it creates that color, and basically just rinse and repeat until we're good to go. We do have red convert, so I will go for this. Of course, we would normally have the blue Doomed polearm there, but since we weren't, we're just go for our convert there. Get our last little bit of mana. We want to be focusing Vespera as much as we can, as she actually is our main mana accumulator. Main mana accumulator. So whenever she doesn't end up getting our ability, it's going to be a little unfortunate. We're always going to want to do it on her single color, just so we could try to increase our chance of getting her concentration. A lot of teams with her, you tend to use a pretty pure color team, so she'll have a higher chance to actually create a ton of that color. Like right there, you saw a ton of blue. Ideally, in a lot of situations, you want to go and build yourself almost like a pure blue team, like hero weapons like this, and other troops like that, so on and so forth. But it's not required to run a Vespera team, especially when we're only really utilizing for a small amount of her stats. And as per usual, we'll basically do the 5 lightning gems off of this with auto extra turn. We then go for our explode combo, and then it's pretty much match. I think that should be enough damage there, as long as we get a skull, and there we go. There's a little bit of a stat buffing thing. Obviously, it's not like a full-on buff team. There are definitely better ways to end up building around it, but it is a way that you can end up using the troop. Lastly, now we have a low rarity team, but not just any low rarity team. Since this is the end of the campaign, I figured why not use every single lightning gem mechanic we've gotten, as this is actually a low rarity team. We're not using hero here. It is something you could potentially add, of course, but we're just using the 4, I would say, quote-unquote best lightning gem mechanics we've gotten. This does not necessarily mean they're good. It just means the 4 best ones we've gotten during this current campaign, for campaign 17. We have this guy, which gains barrier and creates a bunch of lightning gems. You get to choose either between blue or yellow. In the case of this team, we're probably going to want to do blue most of the time for 2 reasons. Well, one, it feeds back into himself, but also it just feeds our mana a lot better. But yeah, he's a little bit of score reduction. He's an okay early game tank. Nothing really too special, but he can definitely do the role. He's epic, so I guess he's a little bit of a higher rarity, but still in the lower rarity end. We have the ultra rare of the Brash Drake. While it does gain a benefit from using Dragon Commander on your team, it is not required. It has a 50% mana start purple to blue convert, which unfortunately is nowhere near as good as an Empower option, but still has a convert nonetheless. It just will take it a little bit longer to end up getting it going. But when it does, ends up creating a ton of blue lightning gems, which will be able to go feed not only into the ton of blue gems you already have on the board, but also be able to go explode all of these to go get even more mana accumulation. And as with pretty much all of these, the best of all of the lightning gem mechanics, we have the Geno Sphinx. While it's nowhere near as good as something like Daughter of Time when we got that for Hourglass gems, it is still the most solid Hourglass thing, or sorry, lightning gem thing that we have, not counting the Mythic itself when using multiple of it. So it is the next best thing, and luckily it also uses yellow, so all these yellow lightning gems that we're getting will just feed straight into it. But yeah, this is just a cheap low rarity team. Obviously, the Mythic itself is the high rarity, but otherwise it's all low rarity stuff. But anyways, let's go and take our mana. This will take a little bit to get our mana up, as with a lot of these teams, as we aren't running any like the super broken mana accumulation methods these days. Like triple Takashaka. I still can't get over that team. It's actually insane compared to like Thrall Leprechaun. Thrall Leprechaun was already really good, and then came even better. Okay, we have purple to blue. Do we have alignment? No. Is this still... Oh, wait, we do right there. So it would probably still be worth doing even if we didn't. So here's where we really get to use this thing's value. So, of course, all the yellow ones get to go vertically, all of the blue ones get to go horizontally, and we just explode almost the entire board. Get a ton of mana accumulation. Double check if we have any converts or anything else aligned, which is purple to blue or anything else. Doesn't seem like it. Let's go take a little bit more off the board. Get our kill there. Double check if we still have anything else, and if we don't, well, we still can go shuffle the board. Wait, is that it? No, purple to blue. I keep thinking that's a different color convert, but we can, of course, if we want to just get a new board, we could do this and double check to see if we have our purple to blue now, which, oddly enough, I think we still do not. Well, what can we do? We can go for that. Oh, yeah, I forgot. It's either or. Sorry, you don't get to choose this ability. I forgot it's either or. But ideally, it'll do blue almost every single time, though it doesn't really matter too much. 11 gem spawn's actually not too bad, especially for a power gem like that. Unfortunately, yeah, you don't get to choose it, but you're going to have a mix of both anyway, so it shouldn't really matter as much for the most part. So we'll end up doing it again. Still get our extra turn. 1 mana short, which is not ideal. We don't have alignment over there. Probably just going to have to swipe for it, though. You know what? We'll just go for this. Grab our last little bit, and that should be enough to get things rolling. Get our double tap, and one more will end up doing it. This is a 1 damage source team, which generally do tend to want to have more than one. But of course, as currently, we can't currently run more than one of him, and a lot of the other lightning gem damage sources, other than maybe the weapon, isn't really too good in the current state of game. The biggest one as far as any of the options is definitely the Mythic itself, with the next best probably being the hero weapon. But the problem with it is it uses the same color as the Mythic, so you can't really use them too well together, unfortunately. But anyways, guys, that is the brand new Mythic. If you still want to get him before the end of the campaign, you still got about 3 days left, basically the rest of this weekend. So if you already paid for it, definitely make sure to do all the tasks. Though these are pretty automatic these days, it is pretty free to get these tasks done. And of course, if you still want to end up getting it, you can end up buying as well. I think it's like 10 bucks or whatever it is. Is it worth it? I personally do go for it every single time, but that's also because, you know, we cover content on it every single time as well. But I don't know. I personally like getting them a little bit earlier. It's basically just early access. Every single thing that's in here, except maybe the pet, which is cosmetic anyways, you can get really easily in the future. Like this Mythic, you'll be able to get in a couple months from now. Just save up some diamonds for. You'll be able to get in Soulforge, or even longer, just spam with some event keys at it. And the rest is just like, you know, just various resource or stuff. So if you feel like it's worth it, you can. But otherwise, it's basically just early access to the Mythic. And I guess technically the Tarot card, though currently this Tarot card doesn't really do anything at all. It's really bad for lightning mechanic, and currently doesn't have anything that it gets crafted to in the Soulforge like some of them do. But anyways, guys, that's a rundown on King Stormgard. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. All of the teams we just showed are in the description if you want to go copy, paste, and use any of them. Goodbye, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for watching.